The roar of the stadium, the weight of expectations. We see the muscle and speed, but beneath the jersey lies an architecture of pressure. We think we know what elite performance looks like. We see the highlight reels, the gold medals, and the podium finishes. We see the biology, the muscle, the speed, the technique. But beneath the jersey, inside the mind, there is an entire architecture of pressure that determines who wins and who cracks. How do you function when millions of people are waiting for you to fail? How do you recover when your identity is stripped away the moment you retire? And why do some athletes thrive in the clutch, while others, equally talented, crumble? Today, we're deconstructing the invisible game. We're looking at the psychology of elite performance, from the imposter syndrome of champions to the science of flow states. This isn't just about sports. It's about how the human mind handles the impossible. In the last 50 years, we've mastered the body. But the psychological dimension, that is still the Wild West. First, there's anticipatory pressure. This happens weeks, even months before the event. It's the Tuesday morning dread when the Olympics are still 6 months away. This is where self-doubt lives. You question your training. You question your body. The ability to stay sane during this waiting period is actually what separates the elite from the merely talented. Then there's in-competition pressure. When the pressure spikes, the brain wants to choke by overthinking the mechanics. Choking happens when you start thinking too much about the mechanics of what you're doing. You stop playing by instinct and start trying to manually control your muscles. And finally, the modern monster, evaluative pressure. In the past, the game ended when the whistle blew. Today, the game never ends. Social media has created a panopticon. Athletes are judged not just on their performance, but on their outfits, their political views, and their facial expressions. This evaluative phase starts during the game and continues indefinitely. Here's a question for you. If you won a gold medal or a Super Bowl ring, would you feel like you earned it? Or would you feel like a fraud who just got lucky? It sounds crazy, but imposter syndrome is rampant in elite sports. You might think, they have the trophy, surely they have the confidence. But the research shows the opposite. Think about it. An elite athlete is constantly surrounded by other elite athletes. You might be the best in your hometown, but at the Olympics, you're just another person in a tracksuit. This constant comparison recalibrates your sense of self. There's also something called the next challenge trap. Elite athletes rarely stop to consolidate their wins. They win, and 10 minutes later, they're worrying about next season. They never internalize success, so the foundation of self-belief never fully hardens. They also suffer from standards inflation. To be the best, you have to be a perfectionist. But if your standard is perfection, you are failing 99% of the time. Even a win can feel like a loss if the technique wasn't flawless. So, how do they survive this? How do you keep your head when the world is screaming at you? It's not about toughing it out. It's about cognitive frameworks. The best athletes don't just bounce back, they use a concept called anti-fragility. Fragile things break under stress. Resilient things resist stress, but anti-fragile things get better because of stress. Elite athletes reframe anxiety and chaos as the very fuel they need to grow. This leads to the next play mentality. You see this in quarterbacks and point guards. You throw an interception, you have to delete that reality from your mind instantly. If you ruminate on the error, you're living in the past. If you worry about the consequences, you're living in the future. The elite athlete must fight to stay in the aggressive present. They also use rituals. These aren't just superstitions. When a basket player adjusts their gloves, bouncing the ball 3 times, deep breath, they are signaling to their brain, reset, close the file on the last play, open a new one. This is how champions are built, not just in the gym, but in the mind, building a fortress that no doubt can penetrate. Let's talk about clutch. We love to mythologize this. We think Michael Jordan or Serena Williams were just born with an icy vein that ordinary humans don't have. But the research says clutch is trainable. It comes down to how you interpret your own body. When you're about to take a penalty kick to win the World Cup, your heart rate skyrockets. Your hands sweat. A novice thinks, "Oh no, I'm nervous, I'm scared, something is wrong." An elite expert thinks, "My body is mobilizing resources, I am ready." Physiologically, excitement and fear look almost exactly the same. The difference is the story you tell yourself. This brings us to the flow state, that magical feeling where time slows down, the crowd noise fades, and the basket looks like it's 10 feet wide. To enter flow, you need a balance. The challenge must be high, but your skill level must match it. If the challenge is too low, boredom, too high, anxiety, flow sits right in the middle, on the razor's edge. And within that flow, they master attentional control. Think of your attention like the beam of a flashlight. Sometimes you need a broad beam, seeing all 10 players on the court. Sometimes you need a laser, seeing only the rotation of the baseball seams. Amateurs get stuck. They focus on the crowd when they should focus on the ball. Elite athletes can switch that flashlight beam instantly, thousands of times a game. But what happens when the game stops? We are living in the age of the scrutiny storm. Athletes are public property. To survive this, they have to develop psychological compartmentalization. They separate the public avatar from their private core. If they let the public criticism penetrate their core identity, they crumble. This is why relational groundedness is key. They need friends and family who don't care about the gold medal. They need people who see the person, not the performer. But there is a heavier burden for some. If you are representing your country, or if you are a trailblazer for your community, the pressure changes. You aren't just playing for points. You're playing for representation. You're playing for pride. That moral framing can be a superpower. It can be a superpower, but it can also be a crushing weight. The mind of the elite is a landscape of both mastery and immense pressure. Next time you watch a game, look past the muscle. Look for the mind, because that's where the real battle is won. Eventually, the lights go out. The career ends, and this is often the most dangerous time for an athlete's mind. Imagine your entire life since you were 5 years old was organized around one thing. You wake up, you train. You eat, you train. Your friends are teammates. Your worth is measured in stats. Then, one day, it's over. You are 30 years old, and you have to answer the question, who am I? We call this the loss of the identity anchor. If your answer to, who are you, was always, I am a swimmer, what are you when you can't swim anymore? The loss of structure is brutal. No more schedules, no more clear goals, no more adrenaline. This is why we see such high rates of depression and identity crisis in retired pros. The athletes who survived this transition are the ones who practiced identity diversification. They didn't just play sports. They were students, artists, entrepreneurs, or parents while they were athletes. They kept a lifeline to the real world, so when the athletic line was cut, they didn't fall into the abyss. For a long time, talking about any of this was taboo. The culture of sports was built on strength narratives. Tough it out. Don't show weakness. If you're depressed, you're just not committed enough. But the tide is turning. We are seeing a shift where mental health isn't seen as the opposite of performance. It's seen as the foundation of performance. Organizations are realizing that you can't just hire a shrink when things go wrong. You have to train the mind just like you train the body. Proactively, daily, and systematically. This is the future of the athlete's mindset. So, what does this mean for us? For those of us who will never stand on an Olympic podium, the truth is, the psychology of the elite is the psychology of the human. We all face anticipatory pressure before a big presentation. We all deal with imposter syndrome at a new job. We all have to learn to pivot to the next play when we make a mistake in life. The report concludes that elite performance isn't just a triumph of biology. It is a sophisticated orchestration of psychological skills that can be learned. Whether you are chasing a gold medal or just chasing a better version of yourself, the battle is rarely against the opponent. The battle is always, ultimately, against the voice in your own head. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mind of the athlete, make sure to hit that subscribe button And let me know in the comments, what's your strategy for handling high-pressure moments? Do you freeze or do you flow? Thanks for watching.